Dennis, it's been an Indian summer. What's aphid been doing as far as numbers are concerned?
Well, the Indian summer is continuing, Rob, and as most farmers know, that it's rain and serious wind that affect aphid, rather than so much the snow and the frost, because they can live underneath that. But because it's been an Indian summer, the aphid have persisted, and particularly cereal aphid has built up to large numbers. And at Lincoln there's an aphid trap which traps the aphid from the ear to give us a bit of an indication of the potential for the aphid infecting barley yellow dwarf virus in the wheat crops. And last week, or from the week of the 6th through to the 10th, 66 aphid were trapped that were cereal aphid, and the 12-year average is 30. So we're well above that, and warning signs that there could be an overwintering population that will infect wheat crops quite badly. 2005 was a very bad season, and it's a lot higher at this point than it was in 2005. So farmers that have got wheat up that hasn't been protected by insecticide, they'd better get out there and have some jolly good looks around their crops to see what they've got, and wipe that population out. Because
so we need to spray right now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Take that population out, because it can overwinter and build up in the spring just dramatically. It's not an expensive exercise to kill those aphid, but one that will pay large rewards looking at the numbers that are in the traps at this stage.
You won't see the redness of the leaf yet because it's too early for that?
Yes, that's right. Yes, you'll see that a little bit later, after the aphids have been feeding and injected their virus into the plant. Then the plant exudes that redness, and then later on sort of yellow colour, and really it just
kills it off.
Kills it off. It's just useless. It just large patches within the paddock, not the whole paddock, because aphid tend to come over a fence and into a sheltered area and drop into a spot. But as we know, they can build up dramatically in the spring, and they will be carrying the virus with them. Not every aphid does, but the ones that are there now probably will be carrying that virus.
Now, speaking of barley, the malt price is out for the first contracts?
Yes, Malt Europe are putting out a contract to see how the pulse of the farmers is going. I must say it's a little bit disappointing at this stage. It's 13% below last year's price. And most farmers I've talked to are not really ready to sign. They want about the same area as last year, and last year they got the barley they wanted because of the very, very wet autumn, and a lot of wheat couldn't be planted, clover couldn't get in, grass seed couldn't get in even because it was just so wet people couldn't get onto the land. That meant there was a lot of land available in the spring for planting barley, so they got their area. I'm suggesting at the moment that they're probably $10 to $15 a tonne below where farmers are prepared to settle, and I don't know any farmer that's going to sign that first contract at $3.85, or if you're out of zone, $3.91 for the extra cartage. It's last year about $4.35, so we don't like going backwards.
No, absolutely right.
And malting barley is not a commodity. It's becoming very much a specialist thing where...
Well, it's different beers and things.
Different beers, different barleys, and it's just not something you can instantly buy on the world market and ship in, because the New Zealand growers won't grow it. So don't think of it as a commodity. It's getting more and more specialist every day.
Niche. Now, speaking of smoke coming out of people's ears, ECAN.
Yes, well, ECAN have released their variation 1 to the farm and water and nutrient management plan that they've put out, and it hasn't been accepted with great joy. It is law at this stage. A lot of it's going to be implemented in January 2017, so supposedly we've got 18 months to absorb it, but there's no opportunity to challenge that unless it is within the first 15 days on a point of law. So those independent commissioners who have looked at how we will farm, or the rules that they'll put in place in the future, they cannot be questioned on their science they used or the decisions they make. They may have written some answers for ECAN on certain subjects, but if, for instance, a phosphate runoff area that they've identified is a problem, the soil science or the science that they've used behind that and the reasoning why those farms are in that zone, they cannot be questioned on that. And I must say, I've looked at some of those zones, and our farm and a lot of our neighbours are in that phosphate runoff area. We will have to apply to for a consent to continue farming, just what we're doing now.
So let me get this right. You have to get a consent to continue. What if you don't get the consent? Is it...
Well, I imagine you'll be non-compliant, and you'll be audited, and you'll be made to do, well, certainly environmental farm plans will be part of the whole thing, and they will be audited, and I imagine they could stop you farming if you continue to infringe. But certainly, the straight from the pamphlet, they're saying you need a consent to farm if your farm's over 10 hectares and your nitrogen loss is more than 15 kilograms per hectare per year.
And how do they measure that?
They have certain soil tests done, and soil types as well. You know, some soils with clay and that sort of thing, they are quite nitrogen retentive, so they don't have the, like shingle and so forth, underneath the soil. The nitrogen will dissipate into the water. So there's all sorts of ways. Or if you're within the cultural landscape values management area, now that is a co-management program with Ngātahu and ECAN, and there's 12 streams that go into Lake Ellesmere that are in that area, as well as a lot of farms around the edge of the lake, and they are looking at 20 metres either side of those 12 streams will be part of the cultural area. So those sorts of areas and around the edge of the lake, they're going to be subject to special cultural values and things you can and can't do, even tougher than the ones outside that area. Also within a phosphate sediment risk area, and that's the one that we're in. But we believe, in talking to a few people at Foundation for Arable Research, for instance, some of that science is quite contestable, but we're not going to have an opportunity to contest it.
So farming for future will not be as farming as we know it.
Well, you know, we've talked earlier about some of the restrictions and some of the things that are going on, and my son was at the meeting where this was presented to us, and he said, when are they putting in the next gas chamber?
Ooh,
that was the feeling.
That was the feeling.